It's an industry that I generally love. I have a passion for. I eat, sleep, I live for fitness.
No, you need to be obsessed. You need to wake up, think about it. You need to go to bed, think about your clients, think about your progress, think about what you can do better.
Genuinely, just be patient and take your time. That is you've got to take it all in the right steps. You've got to nail what you do in person before you go online.
I don't like to talk about fear. The fears is usually something that makes your worries real.
Welcome to the CoachingIgnited podcast. My name is Alex Povey. If you're a new listener, the show is released every Sunday on all the major platforms, including Spotify and iTunes. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a show. Every week we invite a new guest from the fitness industry or coaching space to share their personal journey in business. We will deep dive into actionable ideas, strategies and systems that you can apply in your life and business too. You can also access free weekly content in our private Facebook group by searching CoachingIgnited. And if you're a face-to-face personal trainer with room to take on additional clients, head over to CoachingIgnited.com, where you can apply for our 30-day Client Accelerator program and find out more about our business, sales and marketing training platform. Now let's get into this week's episode. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. If you're returning, then welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, then it's great to have you here, because today we've got a really special guest. We've got Tanner Chidester, who's joining us on the show, and despite building a fitness business that's on course to do $6 million in sales this year, Tanner was burning out and really struggling as a personal trainer. But through perseverance and a desire to find a better way, Tanner was able to scale his business, breaking 7 figures in just 12 months and joining the 2 Comma Club awarded by ClickFunnels. And I can honestly say he's an incredibly humble dude and someone that I respect highly. He's nothing short of a beast when it comes to building a thriving fitness business, and we're going to take you through it step by step. All the tips, tricks and hacks that you can use too. So you're going to want to get a pen and paper ready for this episode, because there's going to be tons of things that you can take away and apply. So I'm going to see you on the other side. Enjoy the episode. Right, dude, so we're live. Just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's always great to connect with cool people in the industry, and we've got a lot of mutual friends, like we were just saying a minute ago. But for anyone that's kind of watching this or listening back who hasn't been hit with one of your Facebook ads or seen you online or seen you on Instagram, can we kind of rewind to back when you were kind of struggling as a PT and then you grew a 7-figure business? Can we kind of go back to the start and hear the whole story? That would be awesome.
Do you want me? How far do you want me to go back? Just at that point, or do you want me to go even back to my childhood?
Whatever you want to share that's going to be relevant for people to learn about you. I think it's so important to people to hear the journey that you've been through. Anything relevant, man. Okay, yeah. So I kind of always start with this. I grew up in a pretty big family, 7 kids. Always say don't try to embellish it. I didn't grow up poor per se, but it was just I had what I needed, right? Never more than that, never less than that. So I learned kind of hard work a lot growing up. My dad was very much just if you want something, you can go get it yourself type deal. Whether that was a car or college or, movies, date night, whatever. He didn't really care if you're in high school or not. So I just remember the feeling that I just really wanted to be successful. And I got into sports. I was made fun of a lot as a kid, which is how I got into fitness. I was pretty awkward, pretty socially weird. Didn't have quite very many friends, so I started working out. And started getting compliments, and then that turned into sports because I started competing in sports, and I was very good, especially American football, right? And so that kind of turned into my whole goal in life. So I would wake up and I would train all day. When I wasn't in school, I train at night. I'd go in the morning, I go after school, I would go to a track coach, I was running. It was crazy. So did that all the way through high school and then some into college, and then I got hurt. And it was basically just I knew the NFL was the goal, right? It's every kid's goal. And when I knew that kind of wasn't going to happen anymore and I got my shoulders all busted up, that's kind of when I got depressed for a little bit, and I was studying engineering, but I didn't really know what to do with my life. So I met a mentor, he's still friends with him to this day.
probably closer to a father figure, if you want to say that. And he is acquainted with Russell Brunson pretty well. He's married to one of Russell's cousins, I believe. I can't remember if it's cousin, sister-in-law, or whatever, but I know her as well. She's awesome. But he started teaching about ClickFunnels, right? So I started learning about funnels and like opt-in pages and squeeze pages and emails and all this stuff. I had no idea what it was. And he actually convinced me to leave school. So, I was all set for a 6-figure salary, as like a 22-year-old. And I was like, he got me to leave like with a year left. And it was probably the scariest decision of my life because everyone was telling me not to do it besides him. My ex-girlfriend told me I was an idiot. My parents thought I was crazy. Like, it was just the whole thing, right? Everyone's against you. So I started interning with him for free, and I learned a lot, but I actually wasn't very successful. So he knows all about low-ticket products. The problem is when you're doing like a low-ticket product, $47, $97, is that if you don't have any money, which obviously I didn't, I was a broke, 22-year-old, 23-year-old, it's hard to make money because you're trying to test your funnel and you're trying to get clients, and like there's really no way for you to test it other than getting paid traffic or spending money, which I didn't have. So for the next 2 years I struggled. 23 to 25 I made probably $2,000 in my business over 2 years. Multiple conversations with him about quitting, maybe 5. Pretty depressing time in my life. I remember at 25, I woke up one day and it was kind of like that point in my life where it's like either I'm figuring this out now or I'm going back to school, because it was just like, I don't know, at 23, you're young, you got time, blah, blah, blah. And then 25 is like, man, I'm kind of like, I'm a third of my life's over. Like, I need to figure this crap out. So I hired a coach, did not have the money for it, got a credit card, was scared out of my mind. And I had learned so many skills over these last 2 years that I think I was the ideal person. Like, I'd done door-to-door sales. That was one of the best and worst experiences of my life. For me, it was miserable, but I learned how to sell like a machine. That's the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life. And then, I just knew how to use funnels, and I was somewhat familiar with Facebook ads. I'd taken courses and I dabbled in it. And so I got into this program, and the biggest thing I took away from it was high ticket. I never heard of that before. I was like, high ticket? I was like, people buy that kind of stuff? And they're like, yeah, man, like, you sell fitness, right? I was like, yeah. They're like, just raise your prices. I'm like, what do you mean? Like 15? They're like, yeah, 1,500 plus. I was like, what? I was like, there's no way, dude. It was like, no one's gonna pay that. They're like, yeah, bro. I was like, okay. So I remember my first week, I just started messaging people on my Instagram, my Facebook, and I made like 10G. And I was like, what the frick? Like, I was actually upset because I felt like this was all that was keeping me from being successful for 2 years. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So from there, kept hiring more coaches, tried to figure out paid traffic because, like, organic's great, but it's not sustainable. It's all hustle, it's all grind. And so long story short, I kept going through coaches, and that's kind of finally when I met Taylor and Chris, Traffic and Funnels. And it just kind of happened and it clicked. And like, I tell a lot of people, I've told Taylor this too, like, it wasn't that they taught me stuff I didn't know. The reason I give them a lot of hoorah and stuff is just like, I just felt like they cared. I don't feel like very many people do care. I feel a lot of the caring ends at the sales transaction. And they were just available for a lot of my questions. So I actually kind of created my own system that I use to this day. And I started running traffic to it. And that was the same thing, right? Like, I was at my breaking point. I was like, I spent $50,000 on coaches. I was like, dude, like, if this doesn't work, I'm done with fitness. Like, I'm so freaking tired of this. And I remember I kind of tweaked stuff, and like, I remember that week I made 6 deals at like $3,000 with paid traffic, and it was like a 10x ROI. And I was like, oh shit. And then that was like the next moment. And then since then, I went basically 0 to 7 figures in 12 months. Now I have another second business where I help other fit pros like replicate what I did. And so between the two, we're doing, probably we'll do $500,000. We're doing $500,000 a month. We might do 600 this month. And yeah, man. So now my life's like completely changed forever. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just want to rewind a second, because you said something that was quite profound. You went from selling like lower ticket stuff to then selling higher ticket stuff,
Yeah.
And you were throwing out some numbers there. You made like 10 G's or something, right?
Yeah.
At that point, it must have been a huge breakthrough. But then you said you started hiring more and more coaches. So
Yeah.
it's almost like that gave you kind of like the idea that more was possible, but then you were searching for something else.
Yeah,
To a lot of people, that's a lot of money. So what were you searching for after that once you realized you could make a lot of money?
So more paid traffic, because at the time, like the biggest thing that I don't really like with a lot of coaches today, I'm pretty loud about it, is like you sign up in their program and they teach you like how to message people and go in Facebook groups and like, yes, that is important. It is part of online business, but it's all hustle based. It's all how hard can I work? How many people can I message? How many conversations can I start? And that's not a real business to me, because yes, you could hire someone to do that for you, sure, but it's all hustle. It's not systemized. It's not like consistent. Like it's all like, who's going to see this message? Who's going to respond? And so I knew there had to be a better way, especially for you to grow. So yeah, like if you just want to make 10,000 a month, yeah, you'd probably do it. I mean, and you could be fine. But for me, like I've always wanted to make more money, not only because of like family reasons, but just because I don't want to have to worry about it. Like, my goal is, with the numbers I'm making, I should be able to retire if I wanted to in the next year and a half. And, and that's paying out tremendous amount of money to my team and ads and all that. But, and it's not about the money anymore. It was to begin with. Sometimes even when I run ads, I mean, it may look that way, but I just use what works, right? So someone sees me post a picture of McLaren, they're like, oh, this guy's a Jack A, but I'm just like, you click on it, man. Like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. So, but to go back to your question, it was just paid traffic, because what paid traffic does and what I love about it is I can wake up and the leads are there. They're ready. They're sitting there. I have my team push them through. They get on the calls. Like, it's consistent. So I know if I spend X amount, I'm going to make X amount back. And at that point, it's an ATM machine. Because like, if you're making 5X back and you're spending, now your ROI goes down as you spend more. But for example, if you're spending $100,000 and you make 500, does anyone care? Like, I wouldn't care, because it's just a money machine at that point. And so that's what I was looking for. The problem is, especially in fitness, it's much more difficult. So you see a lot of business coaches, like I can tell you from experience, because I'm doing both, selling a business coaching offer is much easier. There's a higher financial ROI. Like if I come to you and I say, hey man, give me $10,000, I'll make you $1 million. Well, of course you're going to do it. Like you would do anything you had to if you actually believe me. With fitness, it's like if they only make $40,000 a year, they don't have any more money. And so to get someone to take out their checkbook and give you $3,000, $2,000, even a G, whatever, it's much more difficult. And so I was hiring a bunch of coaches, but it wasn't working. And I just realized that a lot of them hadn't sold fitness before. And I don't think there was a coach out there who had sold 7 figures in fitness before. I think, like, as far as I know, if there is someone, I'd be curious to meet them. But it's like, when I was trying to find that coach, I think I couldn't find them because they didn't exist. Even Taylor and Chris haven't, right? So that was what I was spending all my money towards, because I knew that what I was doing was not sustainable. I knew that it was like, it had a time shelf, and I knew I was going to burn out. And even now, like, I'm in another phase of my business where I'm burning out again, because it's such a high revenue that I'm like, okay, I need a guy to take over this part of my company. And that's kind of how business works, is I think, like, as you grow, you get to these burnout stages where you realize either I have to get, settle, or I have to get help to get to the next level. And so with paid traffic, it makes the income much more consistent. Organic is great if it works, but for most people, there's not enough consistency, and they don't have a big enough following to make it matter. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more, because when you turn on the paid traffic, that's going to generate a lot of leads, and there's only one of you, right? So then you're going to hit a bottleneck in the business again, where you can't service everything, because you've only got so many hours in the day that you can get on sales calls, sell people into the programs, and also deliver the work. So there must have been another point, another breakthrough in terms of scale, where you went, actually, I need more people. I need more hands on deck to scale this thing. So what was that process like? So you turned on the ads, you started generating the leads, and then you went, holy shit, I've got too much.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty early on. I mean, so the problem I have is I go very fast, which some people, like, they're like, dude, you need to, like, stabilize. So a lot of times in business, what'll happen is you grow and then you actually lose money, and then you stabilize and the revenue will go back up, and then it kind of goes that way. When you're scaling, you're actually usually losing money because you're paying more money for ads, you're paying more money for more workers. So it was pretty early on. Like I was only spending like I think like $5,000 to $10,000 when I hired one of my brothers to become a coach, so like a fitness coach, and he, you know, the guy's an absolute animal. He's bigger than me now, and so he was doing that, and then I brought on my other brother to do it as well. And so initially all I was really hiring was fulfillment help. Fulfillment by far is the biggest time consumer. I was doing all the ads, I was doing all the marketing. Once I got to where I was doing, you know, 6 figures plus a month, that's when I started getting ad help. So like I have an ads manager now who runs all my ads. I have a front end lead generation team who will like answer a lot of my messages if I'm not available. What else? So I got 2 sales reps now, you know, and so between me and them, there's 3 of us taking calls if necessary. So it's all kind of a point, but I say the first thing you're going to need help with is fulfillment. Then it kind of moves to the marketing, and then after that, you start moving to the closers. I'm at another point in my business now where I'm needing more from my ads guys. I'm needing more, like I need more help with the funnels. I need more help with the copy and the emails, because it just gets to a point where like eventually if your business gets big enough, the face of the brand and what I'm seeing is like they need to be solely focused on content. Content. But when you're in the beginning of your business, it's actually irrelevant really. Like I even try to get my students to understand, like until you're making money, like you shouldn't be spending time making content. You should be spending time doing things that create sales, because without sales, your business will die. So yeah, like hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, I mean, I'm at another sticking point now where I'm having to actually not outsource. I'm trying to find in-house people, because that's the other thing too. Like you outsource stuff, they don't care as much. It's harder to communicate. You know, I've tried to bring as many employees in-house as I can so they only work for me, because, you know, it's easier to manage. They care a little bit more and you get better results typically.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
if a trainer came to you now and they were like, okay, I want to grow my business, I want to follow in the footsteps that you've taken, I want to do what you did in sequential order, knowing what you know now, because you'll probably be able to shorten down that journey, because you burnt through loads of coaches trying to figure out a load of shit.
So much gas, man. Yeah.
So if you were to take them through like a process, when people come to you, do you put them straight into organic? Do you put them straight into paid marketing? Do you do a mixture of both? Like what is the sequence to someone to go from not having any clients to scaling as quickly as possible in the right order? That would be interesting.
So I mean, the truth is like, let's say they had all the skills necessary. The second they can get into paid traffic, the better. But the problem is most clients I work with, when they come to me, they don't have the basic skills. So you got to think like, if they spent 2 years doing what I had done, well, their skill level will be tremendously high.
Well, like knocking door to door and practicing sales.
Yeah, and just like, I mean, before I even turned paid ads on, because I couldn't figure it out, I spent 6 or 7 months making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month messaging day and night, right? Like, I mean, I was killing myself, but it was all just going, I need this money for more coaches. I need this money, because I didn't know how to get the paid traffic to work. And I just was like, if I can't figure it out, I have to ask someone. Like, I need help. And ironically, I ended up figuring out myself anyways, technically. But it kind of taught me what not to do, right? Instead of trial and error. And that's kind of what you're paying for with coaches, is speed and implementation. You're not paying for it because you're stupid or you can't figure it out. It's just like people say, well, it's all on YouTube. I'm like, well, yeah, you go pull this part from this video and that part and then like tie it together. Good luck. So when a client comes in, I do like them doing organic first, because my thing is like, you know, I was averaging, let's say, I want to say like, you know, 12 high ticket clients a month. And when I say high ticket, $25,000 to $4,000 deals. I mean, these are very big deals. So I was doing that just messaging. And so for me, I'm like, if I bring in a client who's brand new and they can't go out and get 2 or 3 deals organically, well, that tells me there's a problem. That tells me either they're saying weird stuff in the messages, or they're saying weird stuff on the phone call, or they just aren't working. Like there's some issue, right? Once they've gotten a couple deals, well, basically that's validating the offer, meaning that they're showing they have basic skills to message. They have basic sales ability. Like they've taken someone who's like, who are you, to a paying client. And once they have money for ads, then we want to turn the ads on, because at that point, what do you need to scale? You need more. You need more leads. You need more apps. You need more sales. So I would say like the basic journey for a client for me is like, I want them to get 2 or 3 deals and then turn ads on immediately. Because if that process is perfect, if the process works, then it's just turning that system on. The biggest problem with most people is that they think if I just turn a Facebook ad on, I'm going to make money. That's just not true. It's a whole ecosystem. And that's why most people fail, because their ecosystem is not correct. It's like, oh, I have an ad and I ran it, but it didn't work. And it's like, yeah, because it's not just turning an ad on. Like my mom could run a Facebook ad. She doesn't know anything. But like getting the ads to convert and make money, that's completely different. But that's kind of why people, you know, they work with me, and why it goes decently well, because like, you know, I mean, when you spent now over 6 figures on coaches and you've done, you know, 2 or 3 years of it yourself, and you've tested and you've, you know, it cuts down that journey for them, right? Because you can immediately say, don't do any of this, just focus on this. And, you know, yeah, I mean, I wish if I had found someone who had done it before when I was looking for a coach, it would have saved me a lot of trial and error. So
step 1 is effectively, you need to be able to get a couple of deals organic, right? It's like proof of concept that what you're offering, what you're selling, the messaging, the niche, right, it works, and people are responding, and they're biting on the message, and they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, what I'll notice is like I get a lot of my clients and they're like, dude, I've messaged so many people and no one is getting on calls with me. It's like, well, I can already know immediately, well, you're saying weird things. Like I already know. Like I know that, or they're too pushy, or they're saying something that it's misconstrued, because yeah, when you're reaching out to a cold lead, it has to be in a very specific way. Like, because you say anything that comes off pushy or salesy, that's what they're thinking to begin with. So it has to come off in a very different way. And so that was trial and error. I mean, I messaged hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and I finally dialed in kind of like what I call my script that really worked for me. So yeah, 100%. Because if they can't do that properly, paid traffic amplifies what's working. It does not, like, it will also amplify what's not working. So I get a lot of clients who come to me and they'll say, hey, Tanner, like, you know, if I ran paid traffic, I'd be making what you make. I was like, no, you wouldn't, because you don't have the process in place. Like, you don't have the systems down. So typically with a new trainer or online coach, they're not even messaging properly or saying the right things. Therefore, they go, well, this doesn't work. But it's because they're saying things incorrectly and they don't even know it. And so that's why I usually have that first, because once they are doing it correctly and they're getting the calls, like you said, they can go from there. But if I turn on paid traffic and they don't have that down, all they're going to do is blow through cash, because I can run the leads through and then they're going to mess it up anyways, and then they're going to get mad. So it's just enough for proof of concept. Organic sucks. I don't like it. I think it's very time consuming. It's kind of like door-to-door sales. Does it work? Yes. Is it efficient? No. But if they're not willing to do that first, or you can't even get 2 or 3 deals, well, then it means you're not working hard, you're saying weird things, or a combination, and then you need to get that fixed before you turn on paid traffic.
So, like, a lot of people listening will not be at a level where they'll have banks of cash to just go on ads, do a little bit of testing and burn. And so they're probably at the organic stage. So in terms of the organic, because I've been there as well with my business, and I still reply to people like who are organically finding me, right? And I'm finding them. But what are some of kind of the strategies for starting off organic? Do you go via hashtags on Instagram? Do you go locations? Do you go into groups? Because I know a lot of people talk about groups, but then everyone's in the groups trying to pick out leads. Do you post on your profile? Do you go into your friends and your circle of influence? Like, what are some of the key organic steps that you would take if you were starting from zero again, because to build up that pot of money? What organic steps would you take?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, I think the first thing is, like, you could do any of it, because organic to me is literally, it's like door-to-door sales. Like when I did door-to-door sales, the way I tried to be successful is it was like, okay, I know that if I hit X amount of doors, I'll probably get X amount of sales. It was a total numbers game. And so organic is very similar. It's like if you're messaging all these people some guys will say like, oh, you shouldn't do that. But I'm just thinking, if your life was on the line today and you had to get a deal, what do you think you would do? Do you think you would sit there and go, I hope someone comments on my post? No, you would be freaking messaging and calling people. You would do whatever you had to do to make the deal. And so I think a lot of times people don't think in business in that aspect. I'm going, if your life was on the line, what would you do? And they're like, well, I'd be messaging people. I'm like, so why aren't you doing that every day? And they're like, well, what if I bother them? I'm like, so what? Like, what if you do? Who cares? That people worry so much about what other people think that they're never going to be successful. I mean, you know, my family now, half my family works for me now. I mean, before they all made fun of me. So what I did, though, personally, is all those things can work. But what I did is at the time, I think Instagram was a little easier. Social media is always changing. But at the time, I don't think as many messages were filtered. I think a lot more messages are now getting filtered where, like, if you're not a friend or something, like, you know, I can go in my message request folder and I'll look, they sent me a message 6 months ago and I just saw it, right? Like, you know, because it's getting filtered. But I did two things. First thing that I did is I would sit on hashtags. So I would sit on any hashtags that were fitness related. Now, a lot of people were in good shape, but specifically what I would do is I would just scroll as fast as I could. And as soon as I see something that caught my eye, usually be an out of shape person, right? This might sound bad, but I mean, it's just reality is if I saw someone who's like 300 pounds, well, I click on it. I'd look at their profile. I'd say something that relates. Now, here's the truth. If they don't want your help, you can't sell them. But if someone is, you know, overweight or obese, like at the end of the day, they need help. They might just not want it, but they definitely need help. So in the fitness niche, it was very easy. Now, for someone who's in like a different niche, it can be a lot more difficult because, like, you know, I don't know, like I'm talking to you right now. Maybe you need like an ads manager. Well, I can't tell that from looking at you, right? It's a little bit different. But in the fitness niche, it's awesome because you can literally go to someone and just be like, hey, he looks like a trainer, right? Or hey, he's overweight. And it's very easy to be like, hey, this is my ideal avatar. So I would do that and I'd message people from there. And I had a lot of success. Anyone who would come on my Instagram page, likes, comments, friends, followers, like I would literally just all of them. And obviously there's a specific way I would speak to people because I wouldn't come off pushy. I wouldn't come off salesy, and it worked. So it was a lot of trial and error, and I tested it, but I got kind of a good concept down. And then I say the other thing I did that, I don't know, like I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, they get a little hush-hush about like page strategies or things they do. But the other thing I did is I did not use paid traffic, but something that I like a lot that you can do with Instagram very easily is you can find someone to either do a shout out or a collaboration or like post you in a, like, let's say shout out group with your page, and they can send traffic to your page. So when I was trying to kind of get more leads and so forth, I did have an Instagram service where basically they would just post my content on different pages and stuff like that. And all the traffic that came to my page, as soon as I'd see the likes and comments coming in, I would start messaging, right? And that was another way to get leads because, you know, if you're not getting any new looks or leads and you're going out and doing everything yourself, it's difficult. And so it was only like $500 a month. It was super cheap. And I wouldn't even really consider it paid traffic, but someone who's watching this who's on a smaller budget, instead of going and trying to build a funnel and figure ads out and go to cold traffic, you can literally just have someone get pushed to your page and start the conversation there, which, you know, it's still technically organic with the conversation, but you're getting new looks every day. And, you know, because honestly, like, it's either, if you're not getting new looks, it's just hard to grow. You know, if people don't know you exist, it's just very hard to get sales. Like, the number one reason people die in business is no one knows they exist, right? So my goal at this point is just I just try to run as much paid traffic as I can because I know the more people know about me, they're either going to hate me, like me, or they're going to sign up, or both, right? Or all three.
Yeah. That was really good advice for anyone listening, and for me as well, like with my business. But I think a key thing that you said, which is really important, which is kind of caring less about what people think and just kind of have the mindset of, like, if it was your last day or you were like on your deathbed, you would just be battering everything. And not in a like a salesy or a sleazy way, but it's just like the willingness to go out there and actually hustle and build a business. And that's what you've got to do in the early days of the business. In the infancy, you have to put in the work.
And it's like a short-term thing. I tell people it's like a crash diet. It's like, you're not going to do this forever, but if you're not willing to do this in the beginning, you'll never be successful. There's no other way. When you have no cash, you have no options. When you have cash, you got options. When you're broke, that's all you can do. And so, the other thing, going back to what you said about caring what people think, that's one of the biggest things that holds people back. Like, on my ads, I get hate comments on my ads every day, but I don't care because I don't know. It's when you're beginning in business, it can be harder. But now that I'm more of like I've grown, I have like this bird eyes view. You just realize that like you're just a speck of dust in the universe, and like if one person comments on your ad, like you're probably never going to speak to them ever again. They'll probably never comment on any of your things again. And so if you let like one thing someone says or one thing someone does make you fall apart, success will be very difficult, because like the truth is as you become more successful, more people talk crap anyways.
Yeah.
So it's kind of part of it, and you have to learn to just kind of embrace it and just kind of laugh about it, because I don't know. It's just like I just think some people sometimes I don't think they know what it takes to be successful or willing to do what it's going to take, and that's okay. It's just like you look back at my journey, it wasn't all butterflies and daisies. It looks that way now, but it wasn't to begin with. So.
I see what you said in your ads and in your messages and in your comments, because I've read some of the comments, and I literally just tagged my business partner and I was like, check this guy, this is just great, because you're responding with just like a I don't give a fuck attitude, and you're having fun with it. I should be fun with it.
Sometimes they just say stuff that's just so idiotic. I'm just like, dude, like, okay, like and it's just part of business, and it's like there's different ways to approach it. I probably should be a little nicer. But, like, for example, the other day I had a guy who said something like, if I had 10K, I wouldn't need a coach. And I was like, yeah, you would. I was like, you don't know what you're doing. Because if you knew what you're doing, you would do it. It's like knowledge is like the only difference between someone who's typically making a lot of money and someone who isn't, and work ethic, right? Work ethic is, I just am like, if you're not willing to work hard, well, that's just a given. But after that, it's just knowledge. And so if you can learn what you're not doing and fix it, I mean, you'll be amazed at what you can make. I used to think, $10,000 was a lot. Now it doesn't really seem like that much money, and it's all perspective. So I don't know, but
the comments though, they cracked me up, and I just love the kind of the responses that you put in there, and then you just drop a load of proof, and then like what they're gonna do, like it's there.
Yeah, it's fun, man. You just learn to have fun with it.
So in terms of like the ads now, let's move a little bit more into paid, because I know you're very like messenger centric when it comes to your advertising, because even on your Instagram it drives through to messenger, and then if anyone comments on your stuff as well, I'm sure they get like a DM or they go into like a messenger based funnel. Is that been really key for you in like generating the leads and scaling? Is that like one of the best strategies that you're using?
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal, like, and it's funny, like, everyone's always like, well, what if Facebook ends or what if Messenger ends? Then I'm like, well, I'll adjust. Like, okay. Like, it's one of those things, like, people, a lot of times they worry about things like that. But the truth is like, if something were to end or you had to adjust, you can always adjust as a business. I don't think it's that big a deal. But what I've found is it allows massive follow-up, right? So a typical funnel is you go to a landing page, you give your email, you either buy or get on a call, and if you don't, then they follow up with emails. Now, that can work. 100% it can work. But at the end of the day, what I found is like when they're inside Messenger, there's 90+% open rates compared to 15% on email. You can go in and manually ask stuff. You can send voice notes. You can send videos. You can send it's just much more interactive, and it's more like a text message. Like at the end of the day, if I had to get in contact with someone, I want to send a text. The text is probably like the most seen form of communication and so forth. So that's why I like Messenger, because it allows me to do a lot of unique things that like otherwise I wouldn't be able to do. So.
And then with the Messenger, because we've got an agency as well, so we like build like chat fuel and bots and stuff like that to like run through sequences. So I'm guessing for scale, you're using those tactics because there's no way you're responding manually to everyone right now. So how does that look like? Do you have like a sequence, and then after the sequence, one of your reps dives in or you dive in at a certain point in the chain? and then you do the manual interaction? How does that all work?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of both. I mean, I have a full end front end lead generation team. So it's like I have a massive like 6 people on the front end. So we do automation stuff, but end of the day, like there's just stuff in automation that you just can't do. Like there's just things that like take an actual person. So I like doing that. Obviously you have to be at a big enough scale to do that. It's not going to work when it's a one-man show. But, as I've grown and I've gotten big, I mean, to be quite honest, it's not bad as long as you have enough people. And you have to train them. They have to have a very specific script. They have to know what you want them to say, when you want them to say it, how to say it, because, they're representing you. But, I tell people straight up, I'm like, I can't be in there all day. Like, I don't want to be in there all day. So we have our processes, but it is a mix of both. I think fully automated is stupid, and I think fully manual is stupid. I think you got to kind of find it synergistically where this is part of the automation process we'll use, and then this is part of when like we might have some go in and follow up, ask a specific question. But yeah, it does take a team if you're going to do that. Otherwise, like, yeah, I mean, you can automate, but I think anything that's fully automated, it sounds good in theory, but you're just leaving stuff on the table, because at the end of the day, like, human interaction is important, and especially with high ticket, it is. Now, if you're doing low ticket, you can't afford that. Low ticket's a very different game. Like, I would not do that with low ticket, but when you're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20, big packages, is it worth it? Yeah, 100%. Because, most people are going to need multiple touch points before giving over, a mortgage for a house. So.
And then, so like from this process, because I'm kind of trying to go through the journey of like the organic, then the paid, then the funnel, then the next part would be to take them from Messenger, get them on a phone call, and then you've got to take them through some kind of script, sales process, strategy session, breakthrough session, whatever it is. And then, right, we can call it whatever. It's a fucking sales call.
Yeah.
It's a fucking sales call, right? And then, but what's the objective then? Is it to like sell like high ticket, volume, automated products? Like, what is the key to 6 and 7 figures? Because it's got to be something. It's a high ticket, automated. It's got to be volume. It's got to be something, a type of thing that is sold on these calls in order to make those figures. So what is it?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, like, I got 2 offers. One is like, the fitness offer, getting people in shape, right? And then the second one is like showing trainers exactly what I did. So, those can range anywhere between $3,000 to $15,000 depending on what the package is. And yeah, I mean, getting to 7 figures is much easier with high ticket. I mean, you could literally get to 7 figures with one offer. I mean, I have one offer in both my businesses. I got to 7 figures with both of them. Once you start talking about, 8 figures and stuff like that in a single year, then it does get more complex. You're going to need multiple types of front end stuff. Like right now, I'm actually working on an ascension funnel. So, we're trying to get to 10 million a year. Like, I'm trying to liquidate more of the front end with different products and offers, not because I'm going to make money from it, but because I'm trying to liquidate some of that ad spend before people get on the phone call. If you don't, so for example, like if you spent, let's say $100,000 on ads and you don't have a front end offer and you make, 500,000, well, you only made 4, right? But let's say on the front end, you had 2 offers, like one was $30 and one was like $100, and I don't know, let's say $50,000 of sales. Well, you spent $100,000, but you really, after the 50,000 deducted, you only spent 50 and you made the same amount, right? So it's a lot easier to scale with, like, I would say an ascension funnel past 7 figures. But just to get to 7 figures, you could literally do it with one high ticket offer. In terms of like, were you asking also like in terms of what I'm technically selling, or like how does?
Yeah, it's more for like the coaches that are thinking, well, how do these people make 6 and 7? They're clearly not selling like 50 quid ebooks, right? And they're not selling those at huge volumes, so it has to be higher ticket, or there needs to be some automation in terms of delivery so they can just sell all day long.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's higher ticket stuff, right? Like 3 to 15K packs to each individual.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Like, end of the day, the dream is like, for most people, it depends on your impact, right? I think if high ticket is going to be able to give you more like human interaction, impact, stuff like that. But, the dream would be automation, right? Like where you could just turn ads on and you're getting money in your bank account like this, right? And you're not doing any fulfillment. The problem with that is that it takes money and it takes testing. So, for example, if I built out a low ticket fitness offer for $47, that would mean if I ran paid ads at scale, I would have to get one sale for every $47 to break even. Then they would have to buy an upsell to make any money whatsoever. So is that possible? Sure. You got Greg O'Gallagher with Kinobody. You got Vince Sanity with V-Shred. But like, can every guy do that? No, they can't, because those guys are very good on camera. They got great bodies. They have amazing marketing teams. I know who markets for both of them. And it's like they didn't start from zero. They had cash and they invested that cash and tested. So for someone who's brand new at zero with $0, what's easier to sell and make money? Your $47 product 1 million times, or sell one $3,000 product. Well, people will think like, well, that's actually harder. It's easier to do that. And then once you have cash, like me, the position I'm in now, if I want to go back and do low ticket and test with $50,000 of ads, I can, and it's not a big deal. But when you don't have any money to test, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's what I did. That's what I tried to do. And it was like, I'm spending $10 on Facebook a day. And it's like, that's not going to do it. That's not going to get it done. So for beginners, like, the best advice I can give is like, you have to go high ticket. You don't have a choice, because if you try to go low ticket first, you will find yourself in the same position 5 years later, because you will never get out of the hole. You will never build cash. You can't hire any coaches. You can't hire any tech guys. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to it's just like when you don't know what you're doing, you have to get help. And if you don't have money to pay someone, they're not going to help you. Like, I don't work for free. You don't work for free. So they got to get the cash. And so if you can get, 3, 4, 5 deals at $2-3 a pop, well, that's going to get you where you want to be a heck of a lot faster than selling $47 ebooks.
I think that's kind of like a breakthrough moment for a lot of people that they never experienced. Like, the decision to go from selling cheap because they think it's easy to selling higher ticket. Because I'm sure you were in that phase yourself, and I know it was for us, because we were underselling and underpriced for what we were delivering. Yes. And you have to have certain mental shifts or a push from someone higher level to go, no, actually, you should be charging more for that, and you can charge more.
It's also just being logical. I mean, if you're just thinking like, I mean, $47, like, if you don't have a system that just is churning that every day, you will never make it, ever. And so, and I'm like, how much money do you make a month? I make $3,000. Okay, so your rent's $1,000, your car's $500, groceries are $500, you have $1,000 left, and you can't spend it on ads. And then, the next month your car breaks down, so then the $1,000 goes to the car. That was my life, and I was like, I'm not getting out of the hole. I'm just living paycheck to paycheck. And so when you don't have money, you have to get enough capital to get in a position where you can make different decisions. And so, Russell Brunson's amazing. I love the guy, but I think a lot of people read his books and they totally miss the point that, like, Russell's one of the best marketers on earth and has $100 million business, and they don't. And so, Russell's very big on the ascension funnel, which in theory sounds amazing, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Like, if I had 7 wives, on paper it looks good, but in practice it's horrible. Right. And so I'm just not a big fan of that for beginners, because I did it. And it's like, when you have no experience, no money, no cash, no testing volume, like, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, basically. And so, but if you could get one person like you and just convince them that what you're selling is worth X amount of dollars, that one deal could be more than some people make in a month. I mean, I talked to some students, they're making $3,000 a month. They sell one deal, they made their investment. Like, they made what they made in a month in a day. I mean, that changes your life instantly. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect sense. So in terms of like the coaching online versus coaching in person, because a lot of people, I think, struggle to comprehend coaching online versus coaching in person. It's like, how does this even work? How can you do it through the internet? How can you get people the same results? Now, from someone who is killing it online and someone who's actually doing it and getting results, like, how is it different online compared to offline? And maybe what are some of the tools that you're using to make sure that you're getting people results and you're getting those transformations? Because I think this is really important, because that's why we're in the business of helping people to get results.
Sorry, I kicked the cat, my girlfriend's cat. I think the first thing too is like the mindset game. I think one thing I've learned is that, you know, I care about people. Like I feel like I sometimes I care too much, in the sense that, like, if someone is not willing to do the work or they don't care, like, there's nothing you can do to get them results. Like, no matter what. And so I think a lot of PTs, they're like, well, you know, if I see them in person, like, I'm getting the interaction, like, you know, they're getting more value. But in reality, it's like, you know, losing weight and getting in shape really isn't that hard. The practice is hard. Like, the actual doing it is hard, right? And so for me, it was like, look, I told myself, I was like, if they do 100% of what I tell them to do, will they get results? Yes. You have to tell that to yourself, and you have to believe it, or you'll always feel guilty for charging people. And I go, so look, if I teach them everything I know, they would be set for the rest of their lives. Is that worth $3,000? I think it is. Like, if they're 40 years old and they don't ever have to hire a trainer again for 40 years, like, I think that's totally worth $3,000, if not more, right? That's what a lot of trainers miss. Like, an in-person trainer, your whole salary is them coming back and back and back and back. Well, if you think about that, sometimes, I'm not saying if you train in person you're bad or anything, but sometimes I can actually unincentivize you to get them results, because if they start getting results, they're going to think, well, I can do this on my own now, right? So one of the promises I made to people is I said, look, if you work with me online, I'm going to give you all the knowledge you need to be successful on your own. And then there's a lot of stuff you could learn and you could get really advanced, but ultimately, like, they need to eat less, they need to move more, and they need something they can sustain. And so, like, I would use systems like, for example, like Trainerize is really great, I think, for online. Like, you can put in custom workouts, they can click on it, it pops up, there's videos. The biggest thing I've noticed, though, is that people, like, they want results, obviously, and then they want to feel like you care. And so if you put in some personal touch, whether it's you or you hire a coach, and they're texting them and just following up, and you maybe do like a group call once a week, and you do like a weekly check-in face-to-face or whatever, as you scale, you'll have to change. But what I noticed is that my clients love me, because ultimately, if they just did what I told them to do, they'd get results, right? And then if I'm checking in on them and I'm texting them, we're building a personal relationship, they'll stick around. You know, people, it's the same thing with me. Like, I've had so many coaches, and I've only felt like one set of coaches I had actually cared. And so I've stuck with them, not because, like, I think they're bringing me this, like, yeah, it's good value, but it's not like, oh my gosh, like, I would never figure this out on my own. It's just, I felt like they cared. So, sorry if I'm ranting. I just think, to go back to your question, like, if you give them a good nutrition plan, right, and you can do it like a point system, you can do like a strict diet where you tell them what to eat, you can do macros. But if you give them that, you're giving them a good training plan, it's easy, they can implement it. You know, I gave them a membership site, we had a Facebook group, they could get one-to-one texting. You know, I'm like, what else besides being there in person, putting the food in your mouth can I do? I think that is everything I can do. And so a lot of it was just, you got to make it easy enough that they can stick with it. And then you give them some personal accountability, and you give them some check-ins, and then after that, it's up to them. And you'll learn, and I learned this the hard way, is like, you know, no matter how good your program is or how good you try to be, some people are not going to do it. I mean, it's just like, you'll be shocked. Like, they'll, like, even if they pay, you know, like $1 billion, you'll be shocked at some people, they literally just disappear, and you're like,
yeah,
like,
just ghost you.
You know, it's insane. It's insane, but there's just people like that. So for me, it was just making sure that, like, I make sure they can contact me. I make sure they have a plan they can sustain, and they like it, and it's easy for them, and I know it's going to get results. And if you know 100% that something is ethical and what you're giving them works, you shouldn't feel bad about charging what you need to survive and what you need to make an impact. Because the thing people don't get is, like, you know, they think someone who makes a bunch of money is selfish, and that can be true. But I think ultimately, like, now that I'm making more money, it's allowing me to do things that I would never be able to do before. You know, like, I can build schools in Kenya. Like, I couldn't do that, or like pay off my parents' mortgage, or just make sure if someone in my family gets cancer, that they just don't go into so much debt that they can never get out of it. You know, just it's just, I don't know. So anyways, I'm very passionate, as you can tell. I could talk about it all day, but I'm hopeful that's answering the question.
Yeah, always does. Like you do like go into good detail, which is awesome because it'll help people get an understanding of what to do. And so like as we wrap this thing up, this is probably going to be a great one for us to end on. And I asked this to all the guests that come on the show.
Yeah.
What do you personally think makes a good coach? Like if you were to paint a picture and you were to write out the characteristics or the way they run their business and get results, like what would you say makes a good coach?
Well, dude, the first thing is just they have to care. Yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple, but to be honest, like so many people, they say they care, they say the right things, but I mean, can't we all tell when someone cares? Like, can't you feel it? Can't you like tell by like their effort? It's like when you're dating someone, right? Like if they just tell you nice things, but they're always being a jerk, like, you know, hopefully my girlfriend, she'd be laughing if she was here, so she's like, he does that. No, but like, you know, if it's just making people feel like you care. And I mean, I've even noticed this in my own business, like my re-sign rates are through the roof because they just feel like I care. You know, it's not even like, it could even be like, I'm not even a good coach, right? Maybe they're like, Tanner's not even that good a coach, but I just like Tanner. That alone will make your business thrive because there's so few people that like people just feel like as soon as they give you that cash, that's it. And I've had coaches like that. I gave them the cash and I like couldn't get a response on email, couldn't get a response via text. Like said, hey dude, why are my ads, like why are you running my ads? It's got like a $30 lead cost on it. Like just, you know, just stuff that's like, it just shows that you don't care, that you're just about the money. And like money is important and I'm very money driven. Like I tell people like I think that's part of the reason I've been successful. But when it all comes down to it and the dust settles, like the best coaches, the ones that I like and have the most respect for, they just show me they care. And like a lot of times that also equates to value because if someone really cares, they're telling you the best stuff. They're checking in on you. They're trying to revise things. They're trying to fix it. People get coaches wrong. Like they think coaches are going to fix everything. Coaches are supposed to give you a validated path that they've made and then like show you that they care and answer your questions. And like if you answer my questions and you show me you care, like I'll probably work with you a long time because there's just not a lot of people. I'm cynical, but that's one of the things I'm working through with my mindset. But I just get a lot of people. I just like, man, I don't really feel like you care very much, and nobody wants to work with someone like that, honestly. So if you can show people you care, I think your business will go a long way.
No, I love that, man. That resonates with me a lot because I kind of get more enjoyment out of getting the client the result and them texting me and going, I just got a new client, I just made another 1,000 versus them signing on with me. Because I'll sign another client and you're kind of numb to that, but then when they're getting the success based on what you've shown them and you know that's going to have an impact on their life and it's going to change their life more than it's going to change yours, it's like, wow, that's a good feeling to have. And if you're not really getting that feeling, then you kind of got to question why you're doing it.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, there just comes a point with the revenue as well. Like I'm in that phase right now. Like, I mean, if I make an extra X amount of dollars a month, does it matter really? I mean, it really doesn't. And so you gotta find why. It's like you said, like you gotta get to a point where it's not just about the money anymore. I mean, when you're broke, it's very easy to be all about the money. But as things change and you progress and you grow, it's like it's got to become more than that. So I 100% agree with you.
Love it, man. This has been it's been awesome. Really good chatting to you. For anyone that wants to find out more about you and what you do and how you help like fit bros scale their businesses, like where's the best place to find you?
Dude, I always give the most boring answer. I'm like, you can just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, just shoot me a message. I mean, I have my links on my pages and all that, but that's probably the easiest place. Just shoot me a message. I always get to everything.
Cool. And then the Instagram handle, we'll chuck that in the show notes. But what is it so people can find it?
Just Tanner Chidester and then fitness. So it's my first and last name, fitness. Super simple. My last name's a little weird, but hopefully you'll post it or publish it.
Yeah, I wrote Chidester a couple of times, and then it was like I can't even say it.
It's weird. It's just like, so it's just take out the E, pretend it's an I, Chidester. Yeah. It's not too bad.
Love it. All right, man. Thank you so much. Been great chatting to you, man. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, I would be really grateful if you could leave a short review or post a comment on what you'd like to hear in future episodes. And if you're a face-to-face personal trainer with room to take on additional clients, head over to CoachingIgnited.com, where you can apply for our 30-day Client Accelerator program and find out more about our business, sales, and marketing training platform. See you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, I would be really grateful if you could leave a short review or post a comment on what you'd like to hear in future episodes. And if you're a face-to-face personal trainer with room to take on additional clients, head over to CoachingIgnited.com, where you can apply for our 30-day Client Accelerator program and find out more about our business, sales, and marketing training platform. See you on the next episode.